Hello, guys, and welcome. I'm going to walk you through 1.08. Um, so let's get started. Go to content. That's where we always go to get to our course materials. We have our table of contents over here to the side. We have done 1.07 was the last one I did. So we're doing 1.08 innovation. There is an assessment attached to this. Remember, this assessment is also going to cover material from 107. So be sure that you've done that before you start this lesson. And we have two learns. We have a learn check. This will be especially important that you go over this before doing the assessment. All right, let's start off with the lesson introduction. And I'm going to move my box down here, so hopefully I won't be in the way. All right, innovation introduction. Have you ever used a new product or heard a new idea and thought to yourself, why didn't I think of that? We all are all impressed by those who innovate or come up with new ideas and ways of doing things. Great leadership requires innovation. Where would we be without the late Steve Jobs, founder and innovator of Apple? There would be no iPod, no iPhone, or iPad without Jobs' leadership and innovation. Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook while living in a college dorm room. Just imagine how different your life would be without that. And who hasn't heard of Oprah Winfrey? She started her media empire in a time when no one believed a young African American woman could compete against white men as a talk show host. Number one, what makes someone an innovator? Think of your answer. Sorry, guys. Let me shut this down so it won't come up anymore. All right. What makes someone an innovator? Oh, I know what I need to do. Hold on just a second. Let me pull it up one more time. Bear with me. Sorry about that. Let me mark myself. Do not disturb and it won't bother. Okay, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. So what was your answer? Let's check and see. An innovator is someone who does not accept that we have to do things the same ways we have always done them. Innovators step outside the box and find creative ways to meet the needs and fill gaps that people do not even know are there. How does leadership relate to innovation? This is your answer. Can a person be an innovator without being a leader? Can one be a leader without being an innovator? Not really. In order to be an innovator, one must be able to lead people to accept new ideas and products. To become a leader, one must be able to innovate and have new ways of looking at things. Was your answer similar? Number three, how did Jobs, Zuckerberg, and Winfrey use these skills to find success? Think of your answer. All three of these people harnessed their leadership skills to launch their innovative ideas. In turn, they continued to lead people to accept these innovations. The cycle of innovation and leadership never stops with these three visionaries. There's many visionaries. All right, down here we see there's one of three, so we need to click on the slide to view the next slide. President Kennedy and the space race. Another famous innovator was President John F. Kennedy, or JFK. During the 1960s, when Kennedy was president of the United States of America, America was in the midst of a Cold War. The Cold War was not really a war, but a long and deliberate arms race between America and the former Soviet Union, now Russia. There were no battles in this war, but the two countries competed to build better and more accurate nuclear weapons and aim them strategically at each other. At this time, space was a new frontier for both the Soviets and Americans. The Soviets were leading the new race, the space race, and had succeeded already in manned spaceflight. The Soviet dominance of space made most Americans very nervous. People worried that the next step for the Soviet Union would be a nuclear weapon in space. This would place America at a great disadvantage in terms of world respect and military dominance. President Kennedy made the bold and abrupt decision to try to catch up with and surpass the Soviet Union in space science achievement. In order to do so, he had to convince the government and the people of America to fund NASA with huge amounts of money and to support the president's decision to send a man to the moon by the end of the 1960s. In Kennedy's view, beating the Soviets to the moon would ensure America's continued respect as the strongest and most advanced nation in the world. Review the lesson guide to learn about the activities in this lesson. Always, always, always download the student guide. So click on it and it's going to open up. And our objectives are Fuel Ed Dropbox and discussion, compare and contrast organizational patterns in different types of information text, distinguish between fact and opinion, identify a speaker's claim and supporting reason, identify how text structures like paragraphs, sections, and chapters impact meaning, and summarize speaker's argument and claims. We have a graphic organizer. I like to go ahead and download these materials. So I'm going to go ahead and download that graphic organizer right here. And I have it right there. So I'm going to click on this caret and click open. And it opens up for me right there. And in order for me to be able to type on it, because you shouldn't have to print anything for my class, click Enable Editing, and I can type my name right there on the document. Okay, and we'll go over this graphic organizer when it is time. Okay, and we also have Kennedy's speech that we need to download, so we're going to do that right now. And again, click on that caret and click Open. And again, I'm going to enable editing. Always click that and go ahead and put your name on it. Okay. And there'll be a time for us to read that, but for right now, I'm just going to put it to the side. And there is a rubric, so we're going to be graded on something. So we're going to open it. And again, click this Enable Editing, and so that you can type your name on it. And we'll go over that when the time is the right time. All right, and we have some vocabulary. We have claim. A claim is an opinion-based stance that you take on a subject. And primary source is an original record, document, artifact, or other source of information written or produced by someone during the time under study. So it's done by someone that was actually physically there, okay? Not a secondhand account from someone who was told by someone that was there, actually was there at whatever event, whether it was the moon landing or Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, someone that was actually there that day. All right, and then we go back to our tab here with our OLS lesson. And since we're on slide 3, now we're going to go up here and click on this arrow right up there at the top to go to the next module. JFK's speech at Rice University. One of the President Kennedy's most important speeches concerning the space race took place at Rice University in Houston, Texas in 1962. As you read this speech, which is a primary source, an example of a primary source, which is an original record, document, or artifact, or other source of information written or produced by someone during the time under study. Look for claims that the president makes and whether or not he supports them effectively. In other words, what is he arguing and how does he back up his argument? Do his arguments make sense? After reading the speech, you should be able to answer and respond to the following questions. What is Kennedy's claim in the speech? What support does he use for his claim? And do his arguments and support make sense? Why or why not? So we have a graphic organizer. So now is when I'm going to, oh, sorry, that's, wrong one, Word document. Pull open our graphic organizer there. Okay, so we are going to, what type of text is this? Well, we already know, we probably know it's going to be biographical or something. We'll wait till we get into it and read. How do you know what type of text this is? What text features does it have that tell you it's that type? What images are in the text? What are the purpose of these images? What is the author's purpose for writing? What is his or her goal? What is the text, or how is the text arranged? What information is presented in the beginning, middle, and end? Why do you think the author chose to arrange the text this way? And what is the main idea of the text? So I'm going to just put this off to the side for a moment. I'm going to put it on my second screen here. Uh-oh. And then I'm also going to pull up Kennedy's speech. If you didn't already download it, you can download it here as well. But I'm going to pull up his speech. Okay. I'm going to maximize this a little bit more because we're going to be reading it now. President Kennedy's speech at Rice University, 1962. President Pfizer, Mr. Vice President, Governor, Congressman Thomas, Senator Wiley, and Congressman Miller, Mr. Webb, Mr. Bell, scientists, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your president having made an honorary visiting professor, and I will assure you that my first lecture will be very brief. I am delighted to be here, and I'm particularly delighted to be here on this occasion. We meet at a college noted for knowledge, in a city noted for progress, in a state noted for strength, and we stand in need of all three. For we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. Despite the striking fact that most of the scientists that the world has ever known are alive and working today, despite the fact that the nation's own scientific manpower is doubling every 12 years in a rate of growth more than 3 times that of our population as a whole, despite that, the vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered are the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come, but condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, man learned to ride and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year, and then less than 2 months ago, during this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the meaning of gravity. Last month, electric lights and telephones and automobiles and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin and television and nuclear power. And now if America's new spacecraft succeeds in reaching Venus, we will have literally reached the stars before midnight tonight. This is a breathtaking pace, and such pace cannot help but to create new ills as it dispels old, new ignorance, new problems, new dangers. Surely the opening vistas of space promise high costs and hardships as well as high reward. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer to rest, to wait. But this city of Houston, this state of Texas, this country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them. This country was conquered by those who moved forward, and so will space. William Bradford, speaking in 1630 of the founding of the Plymouth Bay colony, said that all great and honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulties, and both must be enterprised and overcome with answerable courage. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man is in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not, and it is one of the great adventures of all time, and no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations, can expect to stay behind in the race for space. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolutions, the first waves of modern intervention, the very first wave of nuclear power, and this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be part of it. We mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. Yet the vows of this nation can be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first. In short, our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men, and to become the world's leading spacefaring nation. We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained and new rights to be won, and they must be won and used for the progress of all people. For space science, like nuclear science and all technology, has no conscience of its own. Whether it will become a force of good or ill depends on man, and only if the United States occupies a position of preeminence can we help decide whether this new ocean will be a sea of peace or a new terrifying theater of war. I do not say that we should or will go unprotected against the hostile misuse of space, any more than we go unprotected against the hostile use of land or sea. But I do say that space can be explored and mastered without feeding the fires of war, without repeating the mistakes that man has made in extending its writ across the globe of ours. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind, and its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. It is for these reasons that I regard the decision last year to shift our efforts in space from low to high gear as among the most important decisions that will be made during my incumbency in the office of presidency. In the last 24 hours, we have seen facilities now being created for the greatest and most complex exploration in man's history. We have felt the ground shake and the air shattered by the testing of the Saturn C-1 booster rocket. Many times as powerful as the Atlas, which launched John Glenn, generating power equivalent to 10,000 automobiles with their accelerators on the floor. We have seen the site where the F-1 rocket engines, each one as powerful as the 8 engines of the Saturn combined, will be clustered together to make the advanced Saturn missile assembled in a new building to be built at Cape Canaveral, as tall as a 48-story structure, as wide as a city block, and as long as 2 lengths of this field. Within these last 19 months, at least 45 satellites have circled the Earth, some 40 of them made in the United States of America, and they were far more sophisticated and supplied far more knowledge to the people of the world than those of the Soviet Union. The Mariner spacecraft, now on its way to Venus, is the most intricate instrument in the history of space science. The accuracy of that shot is comparable to firing a missile from Cape Canaveral and dropping it in this stadium between the 40-yard lines. Transit satellites are helping our ships at sea to steer a safer course. TIROS satellites have given unprecedented warnings of hurricanes and storms and will do the same for forest fires and icebergs. Excuse me. We have had our failures, but so have others. even if they do not admit them, and they may be less public. To be sure, we are behind and will be behind for some time in manned flight, but we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade, we shall make up and move ahead. The growth of our science and education will be enriched by new knowledge of our universe and environment, by new techniques of learning and mapping and observation, by new tools and computers for industry, medicine, the home as well as the school. Technical institutions such as RISE will reap the harvest of these gains. And finally, the space effort itself, while still in its infancy, has already created a great number of new companies and tens of thousands of new jobs. Excuse me. Space and related industries are generating new demands in investment and skilled personnel. And this city and this state and this region will share greatly in the growth. What was once the furthest outpost of the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on a new frontier of science and space. Houston, your city of Houston, with its manned spacecraft center, will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. During the next 5 years, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration expects to double the number of scientists and engineers in this area, to increase its outlays for salaries and expenses of $60 million a year, to invest some $200 million in plant and labor facilities, and to direct or contract for new space efforts over $1 billion from this center in this city. To be sure, all this costs us a good deal of money. This year's space budget is 3 times what it was in January of 1961, and it's greater than the space budget of the previous 8 years combined. That budget now stands at $5,400 million a year, a staggering sum, though somewhat less than what we pay for cigarettes and cigars every year. Space expenditures will soon rise some more, from 40 cents per person per week to more than 50 cents a week from every man, woman, and child in the United States. For we have given this program a high national priority, even though I realize that this is in some measure an act of faith and vision. For we do not know what benefits await us. But if we were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat and about half that of the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all of this and do it right, and do it first before the decade is out, then we must be bold. I am the one who is doing all the work, so we just want to stay cool for a minute. However, I think we're going to do it, and I think we must pay what needs to be paid. I don't think we ought to waste any money, but I think we ought to do the job, and this will be done in the decade of the 60s. It may be done with some of you while some of you are still at school at this college and university. It will be done during the term of office of some of the people who sit here on this platform, but it will be done, and it will be done before the end of this decade. I am delighted that this university is playing a part in putting a man on the moon as part of a great national effort of the United States of America. Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it's there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you. Whew, that was the speech. All right. So now pulling up our other doc, and I'm going to kind of side by side this and make this a little bit thinner here. All right. What type of text is this? It is a speech. It's a speech. How do you know that it's a speech? Well, number one, they tell us, but number two, the way he starts off, the way he addresses various people in attendance, such as Mr. Webb, Mr. Bell, scientists, distinguished gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen. What image, and you can have more. I'm just going to give y'all a basic one. Please put more. What images are on the text? There's none. None. So what purpose? None. How is the text arranged? Okay. How did he arrange this text? Is it in kind of chronological order? How would you describe the way he arranges it? I'm going to leave that up to you for a little bit, because there is a lot of stuff that can go there. You talk about how he starts it off talking about this, then he talks about that, and then he starts talking about, finally he goes into this. What is the main idea of this text? Well, it should be something concerning the reason and importance of the U.S. making a goal to put a man on the moon during the decade of the 60s, 19, let me put 1960s because y'all may not. Okay, for those of you that know your history, did we succeed? All right, facts, data, quotes. Okay, I'll let y'all go through and put those. What passages are difficult to understand? Okay, you tell me which passage did you like? I just didn't understand this. Maybe you didn't understand that bit where he took all of human history and narrowed it down to 50 years. Maybe you didn't understand that. That can be a bit confusing. Put whatever you want there. What was confusing for you? What vocabulary words did you not know and that you might need to look up? One important thing to do when you're reading a text, especially when it's kind of difficult like this with a lot of big vocabulary, is to have a dictionary open so that if you don't know what a word means, write it down, look it up. If you need to look it up, write it down here. An example of a fact, there's lots of facts in there. Go in and find one. An example of opinion, there's some opinions in there, but it wouldn't be too hard to find. What is the organizational order of the information? Again, this goes back to the text structure a little bit, so you can kind of put a repeat of that here. And then summarize the text. And I'm going to let y'all do that. I told you the main idea. I told you the main points. What is the author's tone or attitude of this text? List the words that the author uses to develop tone. Remember, tone is what the author writes. What words? Pick out at least three words that show tone and tell the context it's in, just put the sentence that it's in. And then you're going to put, if you need to look up the definition, look up the definition. If not, put your own meaning, what you think your own meaning of this word is. Okay? At least do three. It has space for all of these, but at least do three. Okay, then you're done with that graphic organizer and the story. And there's not any more pages down here. So let's review. What is Kennedy's claim in the speech? Obviously, that the U.S. needs to join the space race and make a goal of putting a man on the moon before the end of the decade. And in this case, the decade is the 1960s. What support does he use for this claim? Well, he used a lot of support. He's like, well, if we don't do it, someone else is going to. In fact, someone else is already beating us. So we got catching up to do. And if we're going to catch up, we got to put some money into it. And what arguments does he use to support this then? So again, like what I said, someone's going to do it. Someone already is doing it and doing it better right now in a lot of ways, but not every way. They said that although the U.S. was not the first to put up a satellite, he said their satellites are better. The ones you're developing are better. They're helping by doing weather forecasting. They're helping our military launch missiles that will land exactly where they're supposed to within 20 yards. Yeah, so go back and look and find those. There's a few. All right, now we're going to go to the next module. Let's explore some of the important ideas in the speech. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution. Here, Kennedy says that America rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution. Which form of figurative language is used to create a strong visual image of America on top? So it's showing. No, America's number one. Got to think, back at this time, there was a lot of national patriotism. The first waves of modern invention and the first wave of nuclear power. And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. Kennedy uses our emotions and respect for those who came before us to encourage us to agree that America cannot fall behind in space exploration. We mean to be part of it, and we mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world now look to space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond, and we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction. In this section, JFK builds on the already strong fear Americans had that the Soviets would use space as a new avenue of warfare with nuclear arms. Remember, at this time in history, only two world powers have nuclear missiles, the US and the Soviet Union, which is now Russia. Okay? That's what was the Cold War. It was kind of this tension of who's going to launch it, who first. I was kind of playing. And it lasted way up into the 80s. I remember the end of the Cold War. I was not alive for the beginning of it, which basically really kind of started after World War II, but really got heated up in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And especially once we had nuclear power. Yeah, that was after World War II, so yeah. What forms of figurative language does Kennedy use to make his point? Answer. Kennedy uses personification and metaphor to make his point. The country is personified when it rides the waves of various trends. The eyes of the world are a metaphor for America standing in terms of worldwide respect. Number two, how does the tone of the paragraph contribute to its meaning? That's your answer. Let's check. The president's tone is urgent and proud. He uses this tone to encourage others to support him in his patriotic and humanitarian plans. Was your answer similar? Oh, we've got two more slides. I almost picked this arrow up here. So easy to do. But be sure that you go down here and go to the second slide. Did you get it? Test your understanding of Kennedy's speech by understanding these questions. Okay, again, we get to these multiple choice questions. So it is time to open up a Word document if you have not already done so. And I'm going to go ahead and save this PC, and I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to save it as 1.08 review. And let's move this out so I can get the save button. Save. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this split screen if I can. Give me just a second to make this split screen. And then move this back over here. Okay, I need to make it a little bit smaller. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first take the question, copy, bring it over here, and paste it. And then I always like to put the answer. Oh, and I want to go ahead and title it. Let me do that. 1.08 review. Okay. And you might want to put ELA because you have other classes too. You might want to put ELA 1.08 or 1.08 review ELA, just something so that you know which class it's for. And be sure maybe that you make a language arts file for your computer. All right, now we need to pick the correct answer. The Soviets are evil and we must go to war with them. Which sentence best summarizes the speech? B, space travel is too expensive for America to pursue. C, America must pursue space science to develop new and powerful weapons. D, America must pursue space science to ensure world respect and to avoid being surprised by the Soviets. Okay, I'm going to show you what happens when you pick the wrong answer. Check it. Oh no, I got it wrong. You hit the try again and you pick the correct answer. All right, now once you know what the correct answer is, you copy it and you paste it. Oh, I don't want to paste it like that. Let me hit the undo button. Where is the undo button? Oh, I have to make it bigger to do the undo button. I've got to get that option. There we go. Undo. And I'm going to right click because I like to do it like this so it stays the same. Just how I like to do it. But I want that one tabbed in. There we go. All right. And then we come back here and we are ready for the other one. And you might want to even put question 1. You might want to number them. That's up to you. Okay. I'm going to move this off to the side now, but I expect that you're going to do this for each one of these questions. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Which best describes the tone of the speech? A, relaxed and casual. B, sorrowful and mournful. C, urgent and powerful. Or D, comedic and lighthearted. Find your answer, check it. Again, once you know the correct answer, be sure that you copy and paste the question and correct answer into that review document. What is Kennedy's purpose in the speech? A, to persuade the American people to support his push for high achievement in space science. B, to inform the American people about space science. C, to discuss the Cold War and the Soviet Union. Or D, to aid the military in the arms race. Pick your answer, check it. Once you know the correct answer, be sure to copy and paste the question and correct answer into that review document. Then we have another slide to go to here. Back to the beginning. Now let's check whether you can respond to the questions we introduced the speech with. 1, what is Kennedy's claim for the speech? Tell me your answer. Let's check and see if we're right. Kennedy's main claim is that America must begin to compete in the field of space science and keep its role as the most advanced nation in the world. Number 2, what support does he use for his claim? Right or think of your answer. Let's check and see if you were right. Kennedy cites a lot of different ideas and facts to support his claim. Some are facts and some are opinion. Can you locate some of each? Which better supports his claim? The fact or the opinion? Number 3, do his arguments and support make sense? Why or why not? Think or write down your answer. All right, let's check and see if you're right. There is no right answer to this question. It's one of those kind of rhetorical questions. It's based on your perspective, point of view. We learned about that. We did a review of that last week, remember? The important aspect in this response is being able to support your opinion here with examples from the speech itself. All right, we are on 3 of 3, so we have no more slides, which means we go back up to the top and move to the next module. Number 3, what seeing and hearing add? Have you ever sent a text message with that was misunderstood? Chances are the misunderstanding would not have happened if you were speaking to that person face to face. When you speak to people, you can hear the tone of their voice, interpret their facial expressions and body language, and understand whether they are using sarcasm or humor. In the same way, hearing and seeing a speech is much different than reading it on the page. Imagine how differently you would feel about observing your favorite football player speak after winning a big game and reading the speech in the newspaper the following day. You would not hear the excitement in his voice or be able to tell that he is still sweating and breathing hard. You would not observe his teammates lift him up onto their shoulders mid-sentence. Would reading the text tell you as much about what was being said than actually seeing and hearing the speech? Probably not. Again, I probably did not read that speech as well as President Kennedy gave the speech. So I believe it was televised, at least portions of it were. I know I've seen portions of it. So you might try to, find it somewhere. Module 4. Wait a minute. I forgot to check about slides. Let me check. See, sometimes even I forget. Okay, there were no more slides at the bottom. Okay, so we are ready for number 4. Oh, they have it. Now take a few minutes to experience part of Kennedy's famous speech at Rice University. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this or not, so I'm not going to play it. I'm going to assume you're going to be doing the modules and you can watch it there. After you watch the video, what did you notice about how the president used his voice? Think of your answer. After watching the video, you'll see, when did his voice get louder? When did he pause? How did these effects change how you feel about its words? How was it better than the way Miss Jordan did it? Number 2, how did you feel when experiencing the speech compared to reading it? Did you feel patriotic pride, excitement? How did hearing the speech move you to action or to change your ideas about what the president was saying? Number 3, why is the speech more powerful when viewed and listened to? Does it have to do with Kennedy's voice or emotion? Does the reaction of the crowd affect your experience? What does this tell you about the power of the human voice and expression? All right, we have more slides, so we're going to go down there. Arguments and claims. What do you think of when you hear the word argument? Perhaps the word calls to mind a disagreement you had with your best friend or a fight you had with a sibling or parent. In writing, the word argument refers to the logical set of claims that we use to provide a point. Let's review a passage from the Kennedy speech. Can you identify a claim? A claim is an opinion-based stance that you take on a subject, or claims Kennedy makes in the speech. And finally, the space effort itself, while still in its infancy, has already created a great number of new companies and tens of thousands of new jobs. What claim is being made here? What evidence does Kennedy give in the passage to prove his point? Space and related industries are generating new demands and investment and skilled personnel. What benefit does Kennedy claim that Houston and Texas will enjoy due to increased space science investment? Is there proof of this statement? And this city and state and this region will share greatly in this growth. What was once the furthest outpost on the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. Houston will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. What is the claim here? Is there strong support to prove this claim? Why or why not? During the next 5 years, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration expects to double the number of scientists and engineers in this area, to increase its outlays for salaries and expenses to $60 million a year, to invest some $200 million in plant and laboratory facilities, and to direct and contract for new space efforts over $1 billion from this center in the city. How are these claims supported? Claims in this speech are supported in a few different ways. Some claims are supported by the facts and evidence. Others are supported by opinion. Still others are supported by predictions about future events. Which type of support do you think is the strongest? Why? Let's check out the previous passage's claims and how they're supported. Has already created a great number of new companies and tens of thousands of new jobs. Can this claim be proven? With a bit of research, the support for this claim can be proven. So this claim is supported with facts. You could go and research. Is this true or not? Space and related industries are generating new demands in investment in skilled personnel. Does this claim have factual support? How can we measure demand? This support is more opinion-based because it cannot be proven one way or the other. Houston will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. Can something that will happen in the future be proven? This support seems to be based on prediction for what has not yet occurred. Fact or opinion. Author and speaker can use both facts and opinions to support their claims. Facts are provable and cannot be argued. Opinions cannot be firmly proven and can be argued against. Use your understanding of facts and opinions to sort statements from the Kennedy speech. Again, that's when we're going to pull our review document back over. Is the following statement a fact or opinion? And again, I would copy, Control V. Be sure that you also get this one on this one as part of the question. And you may, if they're all asking fact and opinion, then maybe you just put that on the first one. And again, I'm going to title this 1 because we're starting something different than what we were before. And then let's just say that that's a fact. I don't know, but you'd copy and paste it. Okay. I don't know. I'm guessing. I want you to tell me, is this a fact? Can we prove this? Is the following statement a fact or opinion? Yet the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first. Is that a fact? Can it be proven? Or is it an opinion? All right, check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, copy and paste the correct answer into the answer document and go to the next question. Is the following statement a fact or an opinion? We chose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. This is probably the most well-known quote from this speech. Is this excerpt a fact or an opinion? Check your answer. When you know the correct answer, copy and paste the question and correct answer into your review document. Is the following statement a fact or opinion? To be sure, we are behind and will be behind for some time in manned flight. Is this a fact or an opinion? Can you look this up and find the answer? If you can, it's a fact. If you can't, it's an opinion. Check your answer. Once you know the correct answer, be sure to copy and paste into your review document before moving on. Is the following statement a fact or opinion? Technical institutions such as Rice will reap the harvest of these gains. Is that a fact or an opinion? Check your answer. When you know the correct answer, be sure that you've copied and pasted into the review document. Is the following statement, a fact or an opinion? What was once the furthest outpost on the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. Is that a fact or an opinion? Check your answer. When you know the correct answer, be sure that you copy and paste the question and correct answer in your review document. Is the following statement a fact or an opinion? Within these last 19 months, at least 45 satellites have circled the Earth. Is that a fact or an opinion? Check your answer and be sure to copy and paste it into your review document. Is the following statement a fact or an opinion? Transit satellites are helping our ships at sea to steer a safer course. Is that a fact or an opinion? Check your answer. Be sure and copy and paste the question and correct answer into your review document. Is the following statement a fact or an opinion? This year's space budget is 3 times what it was in January 1961, and it is greater than the space budget of the previous 8 years combined. Is that a fact or an opinion? Be sure to check and copy and paste into your review document. Last question. Is the following statement a fact or an opinion? That budget now stands at $5,400 million a year. Fact or opinion? Check your answer. And when you know the correct answer, be sure to copy and paste the question and correct answer into your review document. And we are on slide 4 of 4, so we're ready to move to the next module. We are at the lesson check. This is the review right before the assessment. So at this point, when you get to this lesson check, pull up your article and pull up your other story that we read previously in 1.07. Okay, be sure you have those pulled up. Pull up all of your review documents, the one you just finished completing, along with the 1.07. Have that ready to go so you're ready to take your quiz while it's all fresh in your mind. Check your knowledge. Innovation and leadership go hand in hand. Kennedy was certainly an innovator and a leader. He used his strong leadership skills and communication skills to lead our country in the emerging space race with optimism and pride. It is important to remember that facts are the best way to support a claim and make an argument. When you support your ideas with facts, your claim is harder to argue against. Think about this the next time you have an argument with a friend. Answer the following questions to check your knowledge. What claims did Kennedy make in his speech? Think or write down your answer. Let's check and see if you're right. He made numerous claims. Here are a few. Developing a government-funded space program will create new jobs in America. And again, if you didn't know that when you were filling out the graphic organizer, copy and paste these into that section in the graphic organizer, okay? If you didn't know, it's okay. You can learn from this. He also, another claim he made was participating in the space race will help build America's image as a superpower. And another claim he made was if America does not build a space program, national security will be compromised. Number 2, how were they supported? How did he support those claims? Think of your answer. Maybe jot them down. Use that graphic organizer. JFK supported some of his claims with facts, some with opinions, and some with predictions for the future. Number 3, what is the difference between a fact and opinion? Think of your answer, write it down. Check and see. Facts can be proven and are not arguable. Opinions are a person's personal ideas, not based on fact. They can be argued against. Remember to complete all of the activities for this lesson before taking the quiz. Review the readings as well as any vocabulary covered in the lesson. So also pull up with those student guides, those study guides. They have those vocabulary terms there. Have those pulled up too with the stories and your graphic organizers and your review, okay? All of those. Use all of those things. There's no reason to fail an OLS quiz with all of that support, okay? So then we're going to move to the next module, which is the quiz. When you click on this, you need to take it then because it uses one of your attempts, okay? Once you click the button to do this, you're locked in, okay? It's a total of 5 points. It has a total of 5 questions. It will take you an estimated 5 minutes, but you know what? If you need 2 hours, take 2 hours, whatever you need. Use and look up every question. You have 3 attempts to make an 80 or better. So if you do not pass the first time, go back and do the modules again on lesson 107 and 108. Watch this video again. Do it with me. Take those notes like I'm begging you to take. Use those notes appropriately when you take it the second time. If after the second time you've used your notes, you've done all these, and you're still not passing, please come see me at open office at 1 p.m. or email me and let me know that maybe you need a private session. Okay? But yeah, good luck on your quiz. Do good. And if you have any questions, just come see me open office. You can email me at ljordan@tivahallsville.org or call me at 254-307-0033. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found this video helpful. See you in class. Bye.